I'm in an auto camp on Route 66, just west of Gallup, New Mexico. If I tell it, perhaps it will help me. It will keep me from going mad. But I must tell this quickly. I am not mad now. I feel perfectly well, except that I'm running a slight temperature. My name is Ronald Adams. I am 36 years of age and unmarried. I drive a Buick, license number 6Y175189. I was born in Brooklyn. All this, I know. I know that I am at this moment perfectly sane, that it is not me who has gone mad, but something else, something utterly beyond my control. But I must speak quickly. At any moment, the link may break. This may be the last thing I ever tell on earth, the last night I ever see the stars. 6 days ago, I left Brooklyn to drive to California.
Goodbye, son. Good luck to you, my boy.
Goodbye, Mother. Here, give me a kiss, and then I'll go. Hey, what's this? Tears? I thought you promised me you wouldn't cry.
I know, dear. I'm sorry, but I do hate to see you go.
I'll be back. I'll only be on the coast 3 months.
Oh, it isn't that. It's just the trip. Ronald, I wish you weren't driving.
Oh, Mother, there you go again. People do it every day.
I know, but you'll be careful, won't you? Promise me you'll be extra careful. Don't fall asleep or drive fast or pick up any strangers on the road.
Gosh, no. You'd think I was still 17 to hear you talk.
And wire me as soon as you get to Hollywood, won't you, son?
Of course I will. Now, don't you worry. There isn't anything going to happen. It's just 8 days of perfectly simple driving on smooth, civilized roads, with a hot dog or a hamburger stand every 10 miles. Goodbye, Mom! I was in excellent spirits. The drive ahead of me, even the loneliness, seemed like a lark. But I reckoned without him. Crossing Brooklyn Bridge that morning in the rain, I saw a man leaning against the cables. He seemed to be waiting for a lift. There were spots of fresh rain on his shoulders. He was carrying a cheap overnight bag in one hand. He was thin, nondescript, with a cap pulled down over his eyes. I would have forgotten him completely, except that just an hour later, while crossing the Pulaski Skyway over the Jersey Flats, I saw him again. At least he looked like the same person. He was standing now, with one thumb pointing west. I couldn't figure out how he'd got there, but I thought probably one of those fast trucks had picked him up, beaten me to the Skyway, and let him off. I didn't stop for him. Then, late that night, I saw him again. It was on the new Pennsylvania Turnpike between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh. It's 265 miles long with a very high speed limit. I was just slowing down for one of the tunnels when I saw him standing under an arc light by the side of the road. I could see him quite distinctly, the bag, the cap, even the spots of fresh rain spattered over his shoulders. He hailed me this time.
Hello? Hello?
I stepped on the gas like a shot. That's lonely country through the Alleghenies, and I had no intention of stopping. Besides, the coincidence, or whatever it was, gave me the willies. I stopped at the next gas station.
Yes, sir.
Fill her up?
Certainly, sir. Gary, take care of that. Check your oil, sir?
No, thanks.
It's a nice night, isn't it?
Yes. It hasn't been raining here recently, has it?
Not a drop of rain all week.
I suppose it hasn't done your business any harm?
Oh, people drive through here all kinds of weather. Mostly business, you know. There aren't many pleasure cars out on the turnpike this season of the year.
I suppose not. What about hitchhikers?
Hitchhikers? Here?
What's the matter? Don't you ever see any?
Not much. If we did, it'd be a sight for sore eyes.
Why?
The guy'd be a fool who started out to hitch a ride on this road. Look at it!
Then you've never seen anybody?
Nope. Maybe they get the lift before the turnpike starts, you know. I mean, just before the toll house, but then it'd be a mighty long ride. Most cars wouldn't want to pick up a guy for that long a ride. This is pretty lonesome country. Mountain and woods. You haven't seen anybody like that, have you?
No. Oh, no, not at all. It was just a technical question.
I see. Well, that'll be $1.49 with the tax.
Here you go. The thing gradually passed from my mind as sheer coincidence. I had a good night's sleep in Pittsburgh. I didn't think about the man all next day until just outside of Zanesville, Ohio, I saw him again. It was a bright, sunshiny afternoon. The peaceful Ohio fields, brown with the autumn stubble, lay dreaming in the golden light. I was driving slowly, drinking it in, when the road suddenly ended in a detour. In front of the barrier, he was standing. Let me explain about his appearance before I go on. I repeat, there was nothing sinister about him. He was as drab as a mud fence. Nor was his attitude menacing. He merely stood there, waiting, almost drooping a little, the cheap overnight bag in his hand. He looked as though he'd been waiting there for hours. Then he looked up at me. He hailed me. He started to walk forward.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
No, not just now. Sorry.
Going to California?
No, the other way. Going to New York. Sorry. Sorry. After I got the car back onto the road again, I felt like a fool. Yet the thought of picking him up, of having him sit beside me, was somehow unbearable. Yet, at the same time, I felt more than ever unspeakably alone. Hour after hour went by. The fields, the towns ticked off one by one. The light changed. I knew now that I was going to see him again. And though I dreaded the sight, I caught myself searching the side of the road, waiting for him to appear. Hello? Someone there?
Yeah? What is it? What do you want?
You sell sandwiches and pop here, don't you?
Yeah, we do. In the daytime. We're closed now for the night.
I know, but I was wondering if you could possibly let me have a cup of coffee? Black coffee.
Well, not at this time of night, mister. My wife's the cook, and she's in bed. Maybe down the road at the honeysuckle rest.
No, listen. Just a minute ago, there was a man standing here, right beside the stand, a suspicious-looking man.
Henry. Who is it, Henry?
It's nobody, Mother. Just a fella thinks he wants a cup of coffee.
Oh.
Go back into bed.
I don't mean to disturb you, but you see, I was driving along when I just happened to look, and there he was.
What was he doing?
Nothing. He ran off when I stopped the car.
Well, then what of it? That's nothing to wake a man in the middle of his sleep about.
Oh, maybe he's been drinking, Henry.
Young man, I've got a good mind to turn you over to the sheriff.
But
You've been drinking. That's what you've been doing. You haven't got anything better to do than to wake decent folk out of their hard-earned sleep. Get going. Go on.
Oh, geez, shut the door on him, Henry.
But he looked as though he were going to rob you.
I ain't got nothing in this stand to lose. Now, on your way before I call out Sheriff Oakes.
I got back into the car again and drove on slowly. I was beginning to hate the car. If I could have found a place to stop, to rest a little. But I was in the Ozark Mountains of Missouri now. The few resort places there were closed. Only an occasional log cabin, seemingly deserted, broke the monotony of the wild, wooded landscape. I had seen him at that roadside stand. I knew I would see him again, perhaps at the next turn of the road. I knew, when I saw him next, I would run him down. But I did not see him again until late next afternoon. I had stopped the car at a sleepy little junction just across the border into Oklahoma to let a train pass by, when he appeared across the tracks leaning against a telephone pole. It was a perfectly airless, dry day. The red clay of Oklahoma was baking under the southwestern sun, yet there were spots of fresh rain on his shoulders. I couldn't stand that. Without thinking, blindly, I started the car across the tracks. He didn't even look up at me. He was staring at the ground. I stepped on the gas, hard, veering the wheel sharply toward him. I could hear the train in the distance now, but I didn't care. And something went wrong with the car. The train was coming closer. I could hear the cry of its whistle. Still, he stood there. And now, I knew that he was beckoning me to my death. Well, I frustrated him that time. The starter worked at last. I managed to back up. But when the train passed, he was gone. I was all alone in the hot, dry afternoon. After that, I knew I had to do something. I didn't know who this man was or what he wanted of me. I only knew that from now on, I must not let myself be alone on the road again for one moment.
Hello there. Like a ride?
What do you think? How far are you going?
Where do you want to go?
Amarillo, Texas?
I'll drive you there.
Gee. Do you mind if I take off my shoes? My dogs are killing me.
Go right ahead.
Oh, what a prank this is. A swell car, a decent guy, and driving all the way to Amarillo. All I've been getting so far is trucks.
Hitchhike much?
Sure. Only it's tough sometimes in these great open spaces to get the brakes.
I should think it would be. Though I bet if you get a good pickup in a fast car, you can get to places faster than, say, another person in another car.
I don't get you.
Well, take me for instance. Suppose I'm driving across the country at a nice, steady clip of 45 miles an hour. Couldn't a girl like you, standing beside the road, waiting for lifts, lead me to town after town, provided she got picked up every time in a car doing from 65 to 70?
I don't know. What difference does it make?
No difference. It's just a crazy idea I had here, sitting in the car.
Imagine spending your time in a swell car thinking of things like that.
What would you do instead?
What would I do? If I was a good-looking fella like yourself? Why, I'd enjoy myself every minute of the time. I'd sit back and relax. And if I saw a good-looking girl along the side of the road, hey, look out!
Did you see him too?
See who?
That man beside the barbed wire fence.
No, I didn't see nobody. There was nothing but a bunch of steer and the wire fence. What did you think he was doing? Trying to run down the barbed wire fence?
There was a man there, I tell you. A thin, gray man with an overnighted bag in his hand. And I was trying to run him down.
Run him down? You mean kill him?
But you say you didn't see him back there. You're sure?
I didn't see a soul. And as far as I'm concerned, mister...
Watch for him next time then. Keep watching. Keep your eyes peeled on the road. He'll turn up again. Maybe any minute now. Look, there, over there.
No! How does this door work? I'm getting out of here.
Did you see him this time?
No, I didn't see him this time. And personally, mister, I don't expect never to see him. All I want to do is go on living, and I don't see how I will very long driving with you.
I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. Please, don't go.
So if you'll excuse me, mister.
You can't go. Listen, how would you like to go to California? I'll go to California.
Seeing pink elephants all the way? No thanks.
Please, just listen for one moment.
You know what I think you need, big boy? Not a girlfriend, just a good dose of sleep. There, I got it now.
No, you can't go. She ran from me as though I were a monster. A few moments later, I saw a passing truck pick her up. I knew then that I was utterly alone. I was in the heart of the Great Texas prairies. There wasn't a car on the road after the truck went by. I tried to figure out what to do, how to get hold of myself. If only I could find a place to rest, or even if I could sleep right there in the car for a few hours along the side of the road. I was taking my winter overcoat out of the back seat of the car to use as a blanket, when I saw him coming toward me, emerging out of the herd of moving steer.
Hello? Hello?
Perhaps I should have spoken to him then. Fight it out then and there. For now, he began to be everywhere. Wherever I stopped, even for a moment, for gas, for oil, for a drink of pop, a cup of coffee, a sandwich, he was there. I saw him standing outside the auto camp at Amarillo. That night, I dared to slow down. He was sitting near the water fountain in a little camping spot just inside the border of New Mexico. He was waiting for me outside Navajo Reservation, where I stopped to check my tires. I saw him in Albuquerque, where I bought 20 gallons of gas. I was afraid now, afraid to stop. I began to drive faster and faster. It was a lunar landscape now, in the great arid mesa country of New Mexico, and I drove through it with the indifference of a fly crawling over the face of the moon. But now, he didn't even wait for me to stop. Unless I drove at 85 miles an hour, he was waiting for me at every other mile. I would see his figure, shadowless, flitting before me, still in the same attitude, over the cold, lifeless ground, flitting over dried-up rivers, over broken stones cast up by old glacial upheavals, flitting in the pure, cloudless air. I was beside myself when I finally reached Gallup, New Mexico this morning. There's an auto camp here, cold, almost deserted at this time of year. I went inside and asked if there was a telephone. I had the feeling that if only I could talk to someone familiar, someone that I loved, that I could pull myself together. I had read somewhere that love could banish demons. It was the middle of the morning. I knew Mother would be home. I pictured her, tall, white-haired, in her crisp house dress, going about her tasks. It would be enough, I thought, to merely hear the even calmness of her voice.
Mrs. Adams' residence.
Hello, Mother?
This is Mrs. Adams' residence. Who is it you wish to speak to, please?
Why, who's this?
This is Mrs. Whitney.
Mrs. Whitney? I don't know any Mrs. Whitney. Sorry, is this Beechwood 20828?
Yes.
Where's my mother? Where's Mrs. Adams?
Mrs. Adams is not at home. She is still in the hospital.
The hospital?
Yes. Who is this calling, please? Is it a member of the family?
What's she in the hospital for?
She's been prostrated for 5 days. Nervous breakdown. But who is this calling, please?
Nervous breakdown? But my mother was never nervous.
It's all taken place since the death of her oldest son, Ronald.
Death of her oldest son, Hey, who is this? What number is this?
This is Beechwood 20828. It's all been very sudden. He was killed just 6 days ago in an automobile accident on the Brooklyn Bridge.
And so I'm sitting here in this deserted auto camp in Gallup, New Mexico. I'm trying to think, trying to get hold of myself. Otherwise I shall go mad. Outside it is night. There are a million stars in the sky. Ahead of me stretch 1,000 miles of empty mesa, mountains, prairies, desert. Somewhere among them, he is waiting for me. Somewhere I shall know who he is and know who I am.